Hello and welcome to the world's most famous podcast. I'm Jacqueline Maddison, your host. Today we have a very special guest. We are going to dive into the world of love, connection, and personal growth with renowned relationship coach Dagmar Kusiak. With years of experience helping individuals and couples build healthy, lasting relationships, Dagmar has become a guiding light for those navigating the complexities of love and self-discovery. Let's welcome her to the show. Hello, Dagmar. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet you, Jacqueline. How are you?
Yes, it's such an honor to be able to spend some time with you today. I'm so excited to dive into what you do because it's so important for all of us, your teachings, and to learn these things. So let's not waste any time. Why don't we get started with you telling us a little bit about what inspired you to originally become a relationship coach?
Yeah. I love that question. I get that a lot, right? When I see it's like, what did inspire you? Why are you a
Uh-huh.
relationship coach? Well, for me, what inspired me was just being in so much pain around relationships.
Mm,
I did not know how to have a healthy relationship. And we're not just talking romantic relationships.
right.
It great goes to your friendships at work, with my coworkers, with my boss. I
Hmm.
was a complete people pleaser,
Yeah.
always pleasing, always doing whatever people expected of me. And that's because I was raised like that.
Yeah.
I'm Polish,
Mm.
and you're raised where your father, I mean, he's really the figure. You're supposed to listen to your parents, but it goes beyond that. It goes to really being a doormat and doing whatever they want. And that's how they were raised, right? And so it's a cycle. It becomes a pattern. And I guess what got me really into it was when I was engaged and in 2014, and I realized this is not my person. And I didn't
Wow.
understand that. We were 6 months from actually going down the aisle. We had paid for everything, sent out invitations, and I had so much shame and guilt around that. Like I didn't
Wow,
understand,
that's
right?
shocking. So your relationship broke?
It broke, completely broke. And I didn't understand why it's breaking.
Mm.
I had this nudge, it was this like inner voice really screamed that said, you can't marry this person. You can't marry
Oh,
this person. And I didn't. And I'm grateful for it now. That's 12 years later. I'm very grateful. By the time it was devastating.
right.
And
Well, I think that's divine intervention. I think
absolutely.
I personally think we have like a devil or an angel on our shoulder, and we kind of pick and choose who we want to listen to. But sometimes, really, that angel can change the course of our life if we listen to what they're the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And I actually later tattooed on my hip an angel, it's an
Oh,
angel. It says, trust me, trust me.
oh,
And
that's awesome.
because I was like, yes, I've got to look at that and just be guided. Like you said, yes, we are all guided, but it's like whether or not we listen to it or not, right? And there's so
Yeah.
many times I didn't listen to it, but this time it was yelling at me. You just got to get out of this. You've got to get
So
out of this.
this was when you discovered your need for what? Emotional healing, relational healing, and it stemmed from childhood experiences. And so this is sort of what we all need and why we need someone like you to coach us.
Exactly. Well, what happened is I got into therapy, right? What happened, this is what happened. People said, I was asking about help, and this is another taboo in my family. Therapy means you're broken. Therapy means you have so many issues,
Right.
and it's a weakness to get into therapy. But I got on
Hmm.
antidepressants, got into therapy, did all of that, and I spent thousands and thousands in therapy. And I'm not against people getting help for their mental health. I'm not against that.
Right.
But what I realized is I still was stuck. Like here, I'm
Mm-hmm.
7 years later and I'm still stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really dug into like, what tools do I need for myself?
Yeah.
And I learned all these different tools. I was hypnotized. I did all of these things, and still it helped me to a degree. But I knew I needed more. And I guess like all people that start helping other people become obsessed, right? I just
Yeah.
obsessed about my
Well, you have to learn and be taught what you know, your knowledge base, before you
yeah,
can turn around and teach others and lead them to where
absolutely.
you are in terms of healing. That's powerful.
Absolutely. And I tell my clients this all the time that whatever I give you, I'm doing myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to give you anything that I haven't done or I'm not currently doing. But yes, practice what you preach, right? It's so
Yeah,
important.
exactly. I mean, and I think this isn't an isolated experience. I think this is the human experience as a whole. And therapy or relationship coaching, which is really emotional coaching because you're teaching people how to be effective and thrive in relationships. You know, this is something we all as human beings have to do. It's part, like, I think we're tripart, body, soul, spirit, and this is our soul part, our emotions, our
Exactly.
will, our minds. And so we have to really give a lot of attention to this part of our being so that we can be whole and complete in all our ways. Now, what is the most rewarding part for you about helping people heal and improve their relationships?
I would say the most I guess the thing that I love is when I see them change. And I don't mean they have to go get engaged or get married. That's great. I have a client that actually is engaged. He just got engaged two
Oh,
weeks
that's awesome.
ago.
That's
Yeah,
a, yeah.
it's great, but it's more like the things that they learn about themselves. Because I see in my clients a reflection of myself, like a mirror of
Mm,
what I was like.
wow.
And I remembered just like people saying to me when I had spent 12 years in 12-step programs, all of these programs. And again, I'm not in those programs anymore because I just realized I'm in a different, path in my journey, but I'm not against them,
Hmm.
of course.
Yeah.
What I realized is when I was in those programs, I just having a little like nugget, like, oh my God, I actually know what it's like to love myself. Like,
Yeah.
I remember hearing someone talk in the program that it took her 5 years to actually learn what that looked like. And
Yeah.
I was like, I have no idea. I don't even like myself, right?
Hmm.
And showing up in the relationships, I realized how much that impacted my relationships, right? Because I showed up as a non-confident person.
Hmm.
I was always pleasing everyone, doing what they want. So you're going to end up with somebody that's unhealthy.
Yeah,
So
that takes advantage
yeah,
of
that
that.
takes advantage of that,
Totally.
takes advantage of your vulnerabilities. And
Right.
so I think what for me, what it is like when they just, even if they're getting so emotional, but they get a nugget, you know what I mean? And it's a big deal. Like it's a change in their behavior. That's what I love. I love just seeing them
Yeah.
grow or seeing them have an aha moment.
Right.
It's
Well,
just so.
and exactly. And I think that part of going through relationship coaching is for us to experience those transformations because,
Yes.
life is a journey of self-discovery and personal growth if we do the work, and that's what seeing a relationship coach is, or going to therapy, or, whatever treatments you seek. Like for me, I've been like I had childhood experiences with my mom that kind of affected the way I was in relationships. I had like a mother wound, which I didn't even know existed until like 6 months ago. But that's the thing;
See?
it's a continuous journey forever for the rest of our lives. It shouldn't be just, oh, okay, now it's done and all of a sudden I'm like a healed. No, we go through experiences, we go through life changes, things like that. And so that's why I said we have to never neglect this part of our healing and our growth in our life journey.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you found that. I mean, there's people that go through their whole life and they don't realize the wounds they have. And the fact that you realize, oh, it's a mother wound. And isn't it freeing to
Oh
know
my
that that's where it's coming
goodness.
from?
It's life
And
changing.
yes,
So tell me, I really want to dive into the relationship attachment styles.
yes. Haha. My favorite topic.
Yeah, I know.
Getting all
I'm so
giddy.
excited to,
Gonna do a
yes,
dance.
me
Just
too.
kidding.
I want to dive into it. Tell me about it and let's get into it.
Yeah. So I have a quiz and it's a free, this is what I give everyone and it's always going to be free. This is my thing is I want people to know their attachment without me telling them this is what I see, right, in our conversations.
Mm.
What all attachment is, and I wish again I would have known this because it would have helped me a lot, is
Yeah.
attachment is a communication. It's how you communicate with another person, right? That's all it
Hmm.
is. It's your communication style in a nutshell.
Hmm.
And one thing that I also like, I think is really important to note, and I learned this actually by working with a psychologist because she helped me put
Hmm.
together this quiz and all of that. One thing is you're not one attachment style all the
Oh,
time. Yeah, no,
interesting.
you're not.
Wow. And it
And
gets
it's
more
situational.
to think we were complicated enough. This makes it even more complicated.
Exactly.
But it's important to
Exactly.
understand that it is complicated.
Yes.
But once we understand it and are aware of it, we can come into a self-knowledge about it.
Exactly. And what it all it is just to show you how you communicate. So for instance,
Right.
if someone rejects you, you go on a date and someone rejects you,
Hmm.
are you going to obsess about that rejection for like a week and be like, what
Mm.
did I do? How could I have done it better? Should I be texting them back? Should I
Right.
reach out? Should I go see them again? Should I, whatever it is, that becomes the worry part of that's how it does affect your communication because in all your thoughts that you have, all the obsessive thoughts are going to make you do something, right? Either you're
Right.
going to text them back, you're going to do something with it, or
Uh-huh.
you're going to vent to your friends for weeks about it,
Uh-huh.
right? All
Hmm.
of that, that's what we call the preoccupied anxious. It's someone who worries about,
Wow.
it's somebody who constantly worries. And it doesn't mean that person is going to worry about everything. It's again situational, but overall, if they're preoccupied, anxious, they're more of the worrying people. They worry
Mm.
about other people in relationships. But I guarantee you, there will probably be moments where they might actually pull away or be more afraid. That becomes more of the fearful. So that becomes more of an avoidant behavior.
Mm.
You're avoiding whatever the situation is. So it
Right.
is a little complicated, but the other thing that's interesting about it, it's not just attachment. Under attachment are behaviors. So example is if you are a worrisome person, chances are there are some underlying insecurities that you have about yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Low
Mm-hmm.
confidence. So that's what I show on the attachment style quiz. Like I show you have basically low confidence and you
Right.
work on that. Another one might be you might be not showing up emotionally available in the relationships because you're constantly thinking about yourself, thinking about what did they do to me or what is it that I did. Well, you can't be present for another person, even if you go on another date and you haven't resolved that
Right.
part. You're going to go
Yeah.
on another date and you're still going to be thinking about that other person that didn't text you. And so you're not going to show up in a very vulnerable, state or and anyway, so it does get complicated, but I break it down on the quiz because I want everyone to at least know that this is going to impact whatever relationships they're in.
So that's great. So you actually have a quiz that can determine somebody's attachment style at this point. And
Yes.
then what is your process for, because it's my understanding that the kind of the goal is to, for all of us really to come to secure attachment where
Yes.
we're neither worried or needy or fearful or avoidant or all
Yes.
these things. And we can just be secure in our relationships. What is the process for you with a new client to get
Yeah.
them? And is a cookie cutter like, oh, 6 months and you're going to be good to go, or not?
Yeah, it totally depends. In fact, it takes 60 days to change your behaviors. That's like on average, okay? So even if someone, and of course it varies because there may be people that are overly secure but have some insecurities about certain things, right? So it does depend, but typically it takes 60 days. So my process is everyone, sorry, everyone that goes through with me, there's that quiz, but I have a detailed quiz. Like, because when you have an insecure attachment, your behaviors, like I said, the things you're going to be doing is you may be overeating, overindulging in food because your go-to, right? When you don't feel like
Right.
go to that. You
It's
might
your
otherwise,
emotional comfort. Wow,
exactly.
it's so
You might
true.
check out with video games if you're a guy. And I'm not against video games, but if you're doing it for five
Yeah.
hours every day, there's an issue.
Uh-huh.
So it also looks at the level of code. And if you have some insecure attachment, chances are you have also addiction, not only to the things like food, right, or gambling or it could be video games, but also to people. And so it also shows you that, like, do you people please? Are you manipulating without even knowing that you might be manipulating
Wow,
because you're
yeah.
afraid, right? Someone's going to leave you. So, there's all of those things. That's my first, that gives me the roadmap. When somebody takes that, that gives me really the roadmap to, okay, these are the things that we need to focus on. And then what we do is we have a sit down and we come up with a game plan, right, of what that looks like. Majority of the folks that come to me that have insecure attachment, the very first thing is they have low confidence. They do not have good self-esteem. So we've got to have a mindset shift. We've got to look at, because your thoughts become your beliefs, which become your actions, right?
Right.
What you do and how you show up in life. And so if you don't feel good about yourself, of course you're going to have all these issues.
And this is, you could be the most beautiful person, beautiful, handsome man, beautiful woman, but this impacts people
Absolutely.
on a deep emotional or psychological level, so that's why it's so important to understand what our attachment style is, because
Absolutely.
it's not about what we look like. It's about who we are. And like you said, our communication styles, these are the things that cause us and allow us to have healthy, thriving relationships in our lives. Yeah.
Absolutely. It really is. It's how we show up, because it's not going out on another dating app. It's not going out on another, singles event.
Right.
It's literally, it's literally how you show up, and how you're going to show up is going to be a reflection of how you feel about yourself, right? What you think about yourself, hence the mindset. And that's what we focus on. Is I have a lot of different activities, and they're different for different people, because one thing I learned is I have to switch things up, because one thing that works with someone may not work with another person.
Yeah.
But I have like anxiety tools, how to release anxiety, because again, all those anxiety is and depression, it's again how people what their thoughts are, and a lot of those thoughts are subconscious.
Yeah.
I had a lot of depression around my de-engagement, right? But it was because what was I doing after? I was playing sappy love songs for about
Right?
6 months.
Yeah.
About missing, like how, songs about missing your significant other and all that. But I wasn't living in the reality of like, okay, what was this relationship like, right? And also, how did I show up? What do I need to work on? Going on another vacation, getting a stereo system, a nice car after a breakup, that's great. Going to a spa, but it still doesn't change the way you think about yourself.
So true.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. In most breakups, people tend to reinforce the loss and the sadness. And then it's this prolonged mourning phase. And it's such a waste of time, because, life is today. Today's a gift. That's why it's called a present. So the sooner we bounce back into that positive mindset, we can move forward into our future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things, like I have one of the clients that I'm working with do is write down 5 things that he likes about himself every day.
I love that. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah, not what he's doing, not what he's actually, not 5 things that he's doing nice to himself, because he's, you're not there. You're not there. You've got to change your thought first. And he said to me, well, Dagmar, it's not going to sound authentic in the beginning. That's okay. But just think it, just write it down, and then we can talk about it. And then I'm also having him do, and I do these too. I do these every day.
Of course.
5 gratitudes, 5 things you're grateful for. And so that it comes to you just cannot be mad for long when you go back and look at that, right? And it takes time. Again, it takes 30 to 60 days to have the shift. But that's why it's like going to the gym. If you go get a coach at the gym and you do one workout and then you're upset that you haven't gotten into shape, well, it's because you still have to continue doing the work, right? So this is, I give the tools, but you have to be doing, I still have to do them constantly.
Of course, yeah.
I get still triggered, right? And I tell people, you're not never going to get triggered. You're going to get triggered, but it's how you communicate that, how you deal with that, what you tell yourself, and then how you communicate it to, another person.
Well, I feel like Earth is like God's school for all of us, and it's like school of life, but it's really the school of love, learning to love ourselves and embrace ourselves, and then to love others, and to learn to do that in love. I mean, truly.
Absolutely.
So really it's learning how to love and to love ourselves. And man, it's a difficult journey because there's so much brokenness in the world. There's so much pain and trauma and suffering. But like, I love the gratitude thing. I've started doing that too. And for me, for my mother wound and anyone else who maybe has a mother wound, what I do is I write a letter from my mother to me, to my inner child, you know. And
Yes.
it's like I'm connecting with the mother I never had, but now it's like healing that wound, because to my heart, hearing those letters and the words of love and affirmation from my mom, it's healing. I mean, this stuff is powerful, you know, and this is what I was talking about. Like, you have to do the work.
Yes.
You're not going to change and transform and grow and all of a sudden become your blossomed whole and complete self, you know, overnight. It's a process of change and really nurturing our inner child. Because do you think what is the root cause? Are they caused in childhood or just life experience? What is it?
Well, it can be a combination, but what I've seen, I mean, majority of the time, and this isn't what I've made up, it's also like through Psychology Today and any psychologists and through therapy known, it all comes through childhood. So it could be a divorced family. I have daddy wounds, and that was where all my wounds came from, or daddy.
Yeah.
And then I had to
Yeah.
repair with my mom. I chose to repair with my mom too, because,
That's good.
because again, coming from an Eastern European family, she believed or thought she needed to listen to my, dad for everything, or
Yeah.
listen to teachers, listen to authority. She never had a say, and I was raised that way, right? And so you can imagine that's how I
Mm-hmm.
went into relationships, like, oh, I don't have a say. I didn't even know I have a voice.
Right.
Thing.
Yeah,
But
cultural influences
cultural, it
can
was a
be
very
big too. Yeah.
cultural influences can be huge, and childhood influences can
Hmm.
be really big. That's why it's just really important to know yourself and know about your upbringing, but then also know what it is that you are willing to negotiate and non-negotiate in relationships, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, one of the things for me that's really important is I have a spiritual foundation. Doesn't mean someone has to be religious, not like that,
Right.
but believing in something greater than yourself, because all my life, my higher power or God was my dad and
Yeah.
my parents. That
Right.
was
Right.
that was what I thought.
Yeah, you were like
And that
submitted to that
submitted to them.
power, authority.
Yes. And Indian culture have a lot of that. And I can't be with someone who can't like acknowledge, wait a minute, that does not work anymore, right? That because it's no person, even you, I get nuggets from talking to you. You probably get nuggets from
Yeah,
talking to
of
me, but you're
course.
still one person, right? I can't rely on you for anything. I have to really look for my inner guidance, and it's hard to trust yourself. And that's another thing that I go through my program, is developing that self-trust. But again, it goes back to first talking to yourself nicely and trusting your thoughts, starting with your thoughts. But once you get to that, you can start trusting yourself more. But yes, going back to your point, it's definitely comes back from, it's a majority of it is childhood stuff.
Yeah.
And one thing, I watch the shows because I get nuggets from how people think, like on The Bachelor or reality shows. And
Hmm.
on The Bachelor, the guy that's on it now, he was saying that he wants to repair some of the wounds by having children so he can love them in a different way. But the issue with that is it doesn't work that way. Just
Right.
because you have children doesn't mean you're going to now change, because you know in your head how you need to change the way you raise them. But the issue is children are going to be a mirror of your trauma.
Wow.
When
Yeah.
they start yelling at you or raising their voice or talking bad, you're going to get triggered
Yep.
by something that your parents did,
Yeah,
right?
and things are going to come up that
Yes,
because you didn't do the work,
exactly.
you're only going to learn them when you are raising kids, and that's a little too late because
That's a
then
little too late, because you're going to then affect them by your reactions and by your actions
exactly.
and all that. So it's interesting that, because I used to think that way. Yes, if I have kids or if I do this, then things are going to change. But I'm like, no, it's not, because
Not
if I
ready.
I'm
Like
not
for me,
ready.
that's me. I'm not married or I don't have kids yet, but
Yeah.
it's the same thing. I've known I've been on this journey and I haven't felt ready because I still had, and like I said, even the past 6 months, the past year, I've discovered certain things and gone through healing. But I made another point about how we're like a tripart being, body, soul, and spirit. And you mentioned something about having a spiritual foundation, which I think is absolutely necessary. Myself, I'm not religious, I'm faithful, but I believe in Jesus, I believe he's God, whatever. But when I got born again, the Holy Spirit, which is the counselor or the comforter, he started really talking to me. You know, that voice that's God speaking to us. And so he told me, he continuously tells me to nurture your inner child. And so, and I didn't realize the profound importance of that until I started doing it and realizing, wow, my inner child had so many wounds and insecurities. And when I really started nurturing that inner child and writing the letter from the mom and all these things, it's our inner child, our inner innocence that needs to be restored and healed and loved and comforted. Because when our inner child, our most innocent part of ourselves, is loved and feels secure in our own being, you know, with the work that we do and the comfort we give it, we give ourselves, then we can now become a full fountain of that love to now share with others. And you nourish your own cup fill your own cup of your own love and self-healing and growth, and then nourish others with the overflow. And that's really what it's about.
Absolutely. And it comes back to what you said earlier, how if you love yourself, right, you give yourself that self-love, you nourish yourself, you nourish your inner child, then you can love others. And and the opposite of that, if you hurt yourself, you talk to yourself badly, you do bad things to yourself, you're going to hurt other people, right? Right. So love comes in, goes out, hurt comes in, goes out.
That's
so
right.
It's like,
that's
which
exactly
one do you choose, right? Which one do you choose?
Well, and I think also for me, God's word says that the highest law, divine law, is to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, because he is love. So when we have a relationship with God, we now have the source of love comforting us, right? And then the second, which is equally important, is to love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
So it's so important, the spiritual relationship with God, because then we can effectively and truly love others. Because God first loves us. But without that, if we're disconnected from the source of love, you won't know how to truly love others or even yourself.
Exactly. Especially if you don't have a model and you haven't had examples, right? But you have an example from God.
Exactly.
And now you can take that. And I love that. Absolutely. I love it. And the other thing that I want to mention with the love, right? You're talking about the self-love and then giving love to others. One thing that I get into, and this is something I wish everyone knew about this, okay, is nonviolent communication, NVC. It is the most powerful tool ever. Just because of, again, when we start to learn more about ourselves, love ourselves, we can speak kinder to others, but it's not just speaking to them, it's letting people feel really seen, acknowledged, and loved back, right?
And that's, again, getting back to communication and showing up, like being present in the moment. There's power in that. When you're having a conversation, actually connecting, listening, not just waiting to, blurt your own thoughts, but and I think we need that as a whole, as a human race, to really experience even a taste of heaven on earth. We have to really start really caring and connecting with those around us in love and empathy and compassion. I mean, these are fundamental virtues that I think have been lost along the way, but we have to restore them. And we do that one at a time. With each of us, we have the power to change the world by first being the change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there was, absolutely. Because there was a graphic and it was showing which people wanted to be the change and which people wanted to actually change the world. And everyone was in the line to change the world, but no one wanted to be the change.
Oh, how funny.
A graphic like that, because it's so easier to look outward, right? And all the things that are wrong in the world or in politics, or you can go on and on, right, about that. But it's harder to actually say, oh, wait, the issues may be me. Maybe there's
exactly.
I need to change within myself.
So now I'm sure with the divorce rate being as high as it is, many couples are struggling behind closed doors in their communication styles and their examples of love toward one another. What's your advice for couples struggling in this in their personal lives and marriages?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the first thing I would look at is it a you problem, right? Go back to again looking at the patterns. Like what is it that you're actually struggling with? Because communication is such a broad topic, but we were just talking, it really has to do with attachment, which really has to do with ourselves, right?
Right.
So are you showing up? Like, so take the quiz would be the first thing. I've actually have couples that have taken the quiz.
Mhm.
And I'm just saying that because at least that gives you a starting point of like, okay, I have now a starting dialogue and can see where the issues are.
Right.
And then after that, I would say to really dive in to understanding what this NVC is, the nonviolent communication.
Hmm.
Because once people start learning about their patterns, start breaking those patterns, they can get into that. And I had she's a couple, she is married, and she was struggling with her husband actually, and she came to me. And the issue that she was having was now she was more independent financially from her husband. Her husband was supporting her.
Hmm.
And she got her job and she became more financially independent and was wondering why he got triggered by that and why he's struggling so much to give
Huh.
up control, right?
Right.
And how do you communicate that? And I told her it's a role change, and you've got, I would sit down with him and talk about it because and be very empathetic, tell
Yeah.
him that you understand that, why he's struggling letting go of this because he's been, doing this for 5 years and now you're changing things along the way. So sometimes it's just knowing how to it's knowing what you need to communicate about and then learning the tools. And I've got tools, so that's another thing I would tell couples is I'd be glad to talk to them too to
Yeah,
see.
that's fantastic. So do you
Okay.
work with individuals, couples? Do you do groups, therapy sessions or group
Yeah.
coaching? What programs do you offer?
So what I offer is I do both singles and couples. I focus mostly on the singles world because the singles are really desperate. They usually come to me very desperate. Like,
Uh-huh.
I want something, Dagmar, and I don't want to be alone.
Right.
But I do help couples also, and they can come to me. And what I offer is one-to-one. I am expanding into group settings, especially for people that necessarily because I want people to hear other people out and have support in a group
Right.
setting. And how I'm expanding what I've been hearing a lot from clients is they want help with decluttering. They have some of them are hoarders.
Yeah.
They
Well, I've
need
always said our
help.
external isn't a reflection of our
Exactly.
inner world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I'm bringing in other coaches. I've got a health coach coming in also. I've
Mhm.
got someone helping with finances because people, when going on dates or with couples even, they could have financial turmoil. That's what a lot of
Right.
the couples that have come to me have it's a financial issue
Right.
or they're trying to get out of debt or something like
But you
that.
know what? That also plays into someone's self-confidence. Like if any part of your
Absolutely.
life management is unstable,
Exactly.
that impacts your self-image, your self-esteem, and how you're going to interact with the world and other people.
Absolutely,
Wow,
absolutely,
that's so great that
absolutely.
you've
So I'm
got that
bringing
in building
those
a team.
people. Yeah, so I'm building a team now. I mean, I was doing the one-on-one coaching for a while, but I've been listening to my clients, and they don't tell me directly, but we do this spider map in the very beginning of the coaching to see not only their behaviors they need to change, but how's their health and nutrition? Are they happy in their
Mm,
job, right? Kind of like a life coaching, right,
yeah.
model. And
Hmm.
then I don't want to be the life coach though, because
Right.
I want to focus really on the patterns and the behaviors because
Yes.
that's and the communication. That's why I decided I'm going to bring in other people to support that. So that's going to be determined, but that's what my group coaching will be looking like. But
I
for now,
love that. That's fantastic. Kind of a one-stop shop. Someone can come
yes,
to you and they can get kind of all their needs
yes,
met in terms of coaching and health and
exactly.
healing to become whole. I think that is the ultimate goal in
Exactly.
relationship coaching, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with couples, if they are a one-off or they just want a 90-minute, I do have the 90-minute, right? You don't have to do a
Oh,
full 6 month because that's a
okay.
different. The transformation for singles, the focus is really to get them to attract a healthy partner, help them date, and get them
Right.
out there. For
Mm.
couples, I've done it where it's a one-off. It's just a 90-minute session, a
Right.
paid session
Yeah.
to really get down to what their one issue is. And it turns
Hmm.
out usually it's more than one, but at
Hmm.
least let's start there, right? It's
Yeah, that's great. Kind of an a la
feedback.
carte option. Listen, we've got a
Absolutely.
sticking point right now and we need to speak to
Exactly.
you, Dagmar. And you can kind of help
Exactly.
them move past that little obstacle because they definitely arise in marriages and all of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I found one person found out she was emotionally unavailable. She goes, "Oh my God, Dagmar, really? How can that be?
Right.
How can
Yeah.
that be?"
But that's the benefit of a relationship coach, someone like you who's got experience and outside looking in, because we have blind spots.
I
We really
know.
do. And so sometimes we gain understanding of ourselves from the people around us, but more effectively from professionals like relationship coaches and things like that. So do you have a book or do you have any
I
source of
I will be
information that,
writing.
oh,
Yes, I have a
good.
website. I have my
What's the
website.
website?
It's insightsmatch.com, and it is also going to be, I'm going to be changing because some stuff around it. But yes, you can look at podcasts. I've got, hopefully this one will go on there too. I've
Yeah.
got the podcast, and I have a link on Get Started. It's the tab is like it says Get Started to actually take the quiz as a
Yes.
start, and then then I'll be in touch and we can book a call and go
So
from there.
you have a podcast that you're hosting right now?
I
Or you,
don't. I'm actually on other people's podcasts,
oh,
so
I see. Okay,
link to
got
other
it.
people. Eventually, I want to have my own
Yeah.
on this stuff. I will eventually have that.
Which
It's
I think would be hugely popular because so many people need this knowledge and understanding of attachment styles and how they can break negative patterns that are holding them back from not really having the thriving,
absolutely.
loving relationships with friends, family members, and partners and spouses in their lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I am doing, yes, you're absolutely right. Yes. And I wish I had this, right? And since I didn't, I'm now providing it because I got it, right? And I've been working through this. One thing also I'm doing, this is very different. I'm going to do a 2-day workshop. It's going to be 6 hours
Ooh.
long, but it's going to be me coaching. It's going to be actually a group coaching, and it's going to be all around the attachment on what are your patterns. You're going to have aha moments because, in six
Yes.
hours, you'll have some breakthroughs, and then we will get into the NVC communication and do role play. And I'll give scenarios and give coaching.
Wow.
What those we'll have breakout sessions, and then I can
That sounds like a
people do.
powerful experience for
Yeah,
someone who's looking for dramatic transformation. And
yeah.
where is that
It'll be
going to,
virtual.
online? Oh,
It'll be
perfect.
online. I've got the date just set because I'm also moving.
Okay.
And that's my house is on sale.
And
It's just
so can they register for that on your website?
yes, I will have a register link on my website.
And are you on social media? How else can
Yes.
others
Oh
keep
yeah,
up with
yeah.
you?
Yes, I am on Facebook, Dagmar Kusiak. They can look me up. I have different posts
Great.
posting on social
Okay.
media. So I'd say
So
Facebook
Facebook.
would be the first. I've got Instagram too on
Okay.
Insights Match Journey as well. But I would say Facebook, LinkedIn are my primary, and then Instagram is my secondary. I also have a YouTube channel on
Oh.
Insights Match Journey, and I'm posting. But I would say, yeah, Facebook and LinkedIn would be like the first places to go.
I love
Reach
it.
out
I
to me
love it.
easily and
You are doing such an honorable work and really so
oh, thank
needed, so
you. Thank
needed.
you.
God bless you. Is there anything else you want to add or share or think is important for someone who's maybe at a point where they're considering a relationship coach, but kind of hesitant? What would you say to someone who's on the fence?
Yeah, I would tell them I mean I totally get it. I spent thousands and thousands with therapists, right? And you don't know, right? It's a gamble, but what I can offer is a 90-minute session, or we can do the 5 weeks. I've had a client do 5 weeks with me and then hop on to 6 months now
Ooh,
with me. That is an option to see how we are, and that way it's a lower cost, right? And to see, right, what it is that you need to focus on. And I also want to say is a lot of coaches out there do cookie cutter methods, do this, text this way to get someone's attention, or go out and date, in this manner. I want you to always show up as your authentic self, and that's my focus. So I
yes.
will give tools, but you come back with the feedback, and you actually do them in your way. I had a client actually that told me one of the tools was not working for him at all. And I'm like,
Right.
instead of pushing that on him, it's
Yeah,
like, no, this tool needs to work for you. It's worked
that's
with
great.
everybody, including me. I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? Why don't we come up with a tool together?
I love it.
And we did
So
that.
that's excellent. Kind of a custom approach to everybody's personal needs. And you know
Absolutely.
what? If you're going to be addicted to anything, be addicted to your self growth, your personal growth,
Absolutely.
your personal healing, because that's where you're going to become your
Absolutely.
greatest self and step into really your highest heart's desires fulfilled.
Absolutely. It is. It's very true. And the way that you know that you need help is if it becomes a pattern. They say what in softball,
There
which
we go.
we play a lot, 3 strikes and you're out. If it's
Yeah.
3 times or more, you're getting rejected 3 times or
Yeah.
more. Or you're, you know what I mean, obsessed,
Dagmar.
obsessive thoughts. You need
That's right. Oh my goodness. I love it. I am
3
so
strikes, you're out.
excited for you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
It's such an
you.
honor, and I wish you all the
You
best
too.
and continue to just share your gift and bring healing to so many hearts who need it.